Well, we begin this morning at the scene of a horrific railway disaster in Spain. A passenger train that jumped the tracks, killing many on board. Now, the biggest question still unanswered. How could this have happened? It's being called Spain's worst rail crash in 40 years, and the pictures make it plain. Difficult and heart-rending images in the aftermath of the derailment. The leader of the region where it happened describes it like a scene out of Dante. The bodies of the dead lie covered on the ground as emergency crews work around them. And here's a live shot for you of the crash site this morning. Investigators and emergency crews are still combing through the wreckage. They've started to remove some of those cars. They are still looking for answers. Dominic Gelitis is joining us now live from London. Can you give us an update this hour, Dominic, of what they've uncovered so far?
Well, here's what we know for certain at this point, Anne-Marie. This was the Madrid to Ferrol train. 218 passengers were on board at the time. All 8 of its carriages came off the tracks about 3 kilometres from Santiago de Compostela at about 8:40 p.m. local time. Now, many of those on board were thought to be travelling to the city's main annual festival, which attracts thousands of Christian pilgrims from all over the world every year. So not unfeasible to think that foreigners have been caught up in this incident as well, an incident which has killed scores and injured more than 100. Now, in terms of how this happened, government officials have indicated that at this point they believe this was an accident. They do not think this was a result of sabotage or a terrorist attack. They're not willing to comment on the actual cause at this point until they have conducted a full investigation. That has now been launched. That said, Anne-Marie, it is being reported this morning, these are unconfirmed media reports, that the train driver at the time had been driving at more than double the speed that was safe to travel on this particular stretch of line. As I say, they are unconfirmed reports, but reports no doubt that investigators will be looking into. And
we saw the deadly outcome of that yesterday. You mentioned the death total is expected to rise today as they continue to go through the site. This is the worst train derailment in decades for Spain. Can you give us a better scope of what this means there?
Well, at the moment, the authorities are saying that 78 people have now lost their lives. More than 140 have been injured as well, some of them critically. Residents, incidentally, have been flocking to hospitals to donate blood in response to an emergency appeal. And that really gives you an idea, Anne-Marie, of the scale of this incident. It is, as you say, Spain's worst rail disaster in 40 years. You have to go back to 1972, in fact, when 77 were killed in a derailment in Andalusia for the nearest comparison. As I say, the latest figure as a result of last night's incident is 78 dead. That is expected to rise as the day goes on.
Dominic Gelitis with the latest from London this morning. Thank you, Dominic. Well, Canada's Ministry of Foreign Affairs says Canadian officials are working closely with local authorities in Spain and that its thoughts are with the victims and the families that were involved in the derailment. So far, no Canadians are believed to have been involved in that crash.